Good evening to our research coordinator, our panelists, and advisor. The title of our research is Influence of Tax Knowledge and Tax Compliance Among Business Taxpayer in Tagum City. Research objectives. This study will be conducted to determine the domain of tax knowledge that best predicts tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City. Number 1. To assess the level of tax knowledge in terms of general tax knowledge, legal tax knowledge, procedural knowledge. Number 2. To assess the level of tax compliance among taxpayers in terms of complexity of tax law, perception of tax system, method of tax compliance. Number 3. To determine the significant relationship between the tax knowledge and tax compliance businesses taxpayers in Tagum City. Number 4. To determine which of the domains in tax knowledge that significantly influence tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City. Chapter 1. Introductions. Globally, tax has become the largest income sector for every country. This study tried to determine the factors that influence compliance taxpayers registered individual, especially in Manila Tax Office. Therefore, studies find out that tax compliance decreasing in not stable state. Findings also indicated tax audit that had an influence on taxpayers' compliance. However, ethics and tax penalties do not affect the taxpayers' compliance. This result provides important implications for policymakers in addressing taxpayers' compliance. Locally, in Tagum City, tax knowledge and tax compliance has been observed that the current tax system imposes very complex and tedious compliance rules which make the business tougher in additional expenditures. It also seems evident that the initial proposal retains the principles of current income tax systems that provides for the same set of rules for all taxpayers, businesses regardless of income and size of capital. Conceptual framework. Presented in Figure 1 is the conceptual framework of the study. The independent variable of the study is the tax knowledge with the following indicators: general tax knowledge, legal tax knowledge, and procedural knowledge. This shows Figure 1, the conceptual paradigm of the study. Independent variable. Under it is tax knowledge, general tax knowledge, legal tax knowledge, procedural knowledge. Under the independent variable is tax compliance, complexity of tax law, perception of tax system, method of tax system. Significance of the study. The study is beneficial to the business taxpayers, including the small and medium enterprises, as a basis of managing their business through tax knowledge and tax compliance system. This study gives the business a competitive knowledge about tax system by applying knowledge of tax compliance. Using this tax knowledge, business profitability may improve the income by using this system. Chapter 2. Methodology. Research design. This study will be used a quantitative, non-experimental research design utilizing correlational technique. This method was used when the objective is to describe the status of the situation as it exists at the time of the study to explore the causes of particular phenomenon. Correlational studies are concerned with the relationship between two or more variables.
Research local. Accordingly, even though there would be common features, the findings may not have general applicability to other systems. Presented in the Figure 2 is the map of the Philippines and the vicinity map of the respondents in which businesses are located in Tagum City, Davao del Norte. Population and sample. Random sampling will be used in the selection of the respondents, a total of 508 participants. The computation of the sample size used the 5% margin of error, 95% confidence level, and 50 50% response distribution. The respondents' computation revealed that at least 219 respondents are needed in the study. Research instrument. The instrument that will be used in the study is an adaptive questionnaire from Elster 2016 for independent and dependent variables to suit the context of the study. The first set of the questionnaire deals with the tax knowledge of business with 3 indicators, which are general of tax knowledge, legal knowledge, and procedural knowledge. In evaluating the level of tax knowledge in tax compliance among business taxpayers, the 5 orderable gradation with their respective range of means and description were considered. Range of means, descriptive equivalent, and their interpretation. 4.30 to 5 is very high. This means that the tax knowledge among business taxpayers in Tagum City is very much observed. 3.50 to 4.20 is high. This means that the tax knowledge among business taxpayers in Tagum City is much observed. 2.70 to 3.40 is moderate. This means that the tax knowledge among business taxpayers in Tagum City is observed. 1.90 to 2.60 is low. This means that the tax knowledge among business taxpayers in Tagum City is less observed. 1.0 to 1.80 is very low. This means that the tax knowledge among business taxpayers in Tagum City is not observed. The second set of the questionnaire deals with the tax compliance with 3 indicators, which are complicity of tax law, perception of tax system, and method of tax compliance. Range of means, descriptive equivalent, and interpretation. 4.30 to 5, very high. This means that the tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City is excellent. 3.50 to 4.20, high. This means that the tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City is very much satisfactory. 2.70 to 3.40 is moderate. This means that the tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City is satisfactory. 1.90 to 2.60 is low. This means that the tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City is less satisfactory. 1.0 to 1.80 is very low. This means that the tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City is poor. Data collection. After the questionnaire are being validated, the researcher will reproduce copy as many as the required number of the respondents and the questionnaire. They will distribute it to the intended respondents. The researcher personally gave the questionnaire and explained to the respondents the aims of such study. Furthermore, after they answer the questionnaire, the researcher will retrieve the survey questionnaires. Finally, the researcher will record and tally all the data gathering accordingly, and it will be analyzed by the statistician and interpreted by researchers. With the data, conclusions were drawn and recommendations were formulated based on findings of this. Chapter 3 is the result. In this chapter, the data and the result of the study are presented. Tables are arranged in the following subheadings: level of tax knowledge, level of tax compliance among taxpayers, determining the relationship between tax knowledge and tax compliance among business, which were gathered mainly through thematic and cross-analysis of indicators such as general tax knowledge, legal knowledge, and procedural knowledge. General tax knowledge. Shown in Table 1 are the mean score for the indicators of level of general tax knowledge, which an overall mean of 4.03, described as high with a standard deviation of 4. Oh, deviation of 0.96. This level could be attributed to the high rating given by the respondents in all indicators. This means that the respondent's response to the level of general tax knowledge is very high. Table 1. Level of tax knowledge assessment. Indicators mean standard deviation and descriptive level. General tax knowledge. Mean is 4.05. The SD is 0.556, which is high. The legal knowledge is 4.04. SD is 0.567, high. Residual knowledge is 4.01, and SD is 0.551 is high. Overall 4.03. SD is 0.496, and the descriptive level of it is high.
Level of tax compliance. In Table 2 are the mean scores of for the indicators of level the tax compliance among taxpayers. Complexity of the law with an overall mean of 4.05 is described as high with a standard deviation of 0.502. The level, the high level could be attributed to the rating given by the respondents in all indicators. This means that the respondents responds to the level of the complexity of tax law. Table 2. Level of tax compliance among business taxpayers. Indicators first is complexity. Mean 4.02, SD for standard deviation 0.562, descriptive level is high. The second indicators tax system mean 4.05 is D for standard deviation 0.532. Descriptive level is high. The third indicators tax awareness means 4.10 is D for standard deviations 0.550. Descriptive level is high. The fourth and overall indicators is mean 4.75 is the for standard deviation 0.557. Descriptive level is high. Determining the significant relationship between the tax knowledge and tax compliance among business taxpayers, which is one major purpose of this study is to determine whether or not the relationship between tax knowledge and tax compliance among business taxpayers of Tagum City. Person R was used to determine the correlation between the two variables. Results of the computations are shown in Table 3. Level 2 correlations between tax knowledge and tax compliance. Variables which is tax knowledge. X 4.02 is the for standard deviations 0.496. R value and P value are none. Variables in the seconds tax compliance X for 4.05 is the for standard deviations 0.502. R value and P value are none. R value overall is 0.846 and so on and so forth. Significant at 0.05 is significant level. Chapter 4 for discussion. This study clearly stated its purpose to better understand the level of the tax knowledge and tax compliance among business taxpayers in Tagum City. Level of tax knowledge. Specific tax education program for taxpayers have been implemented in most countries. Tax educations can constitute any informal or formal organized organized by the tax authority or independent agencies by which to facilitate taxpayers and completing tax returns correctly, and also to cultivate awareness of the responsibilities and respect. Level of compliance among taxpayers. A second key implementation issues discussed in this study is the implicity of the system. Silvani and Berry 1997 outlined the importance of the facts that a tax authority should have a simple tax return system from a taxpayer's point of view. A tax authority might assume its tax returns are simple and easy to complete, but it may not be so from the taxpayer's point of view. Therefore, before the final and actual version is delivered to taxpayers, it would be normal to put the formals through a series of pilot tests to validate that the tax return and simple and easy to complete. Relationship between tax knowledge and compliance among taxpayers, which is this section discusses the importance and the role of tax knowledge, particularly in determining taxpayers' attitudes towards taxation. A significant amount of literature from various countries, different approaches, a range of variables and findings are also discussed in this section. Conclusion, which is based on the analysis presented in the preceding section of this research, it can be concluded that in the tax knowledge system in business, tax knowledge has a significant impact on tax compliance, and the level of tax knowledge varies among respondents. High income earners and taxpayers who have attended tax courses appear to be the most knowledgeable taxpayers groups. The results also indicate that tax compliance was influenced by probability of being audited. These results were validated through a multiple method of questionnaires. Moreover, the inclusion of control variables enhance and help to produce even more meaningfully results in terms of explaining the link between levels and nature of tax knowledge and tax compliance. Recommendation. This research has made a contributions of tax compliance literature by demonstrating the importance of tax knowledge as in developing country in order to increase voluntary compliance, as well as highlighting the areas of tax knowledge that help overall compliance. Therefore, this study can suggest specific areas where the educations of others may help to increase overall level voluntary compliance.